looked great. So did my mom. I mean, she'd had 3 kids and wore a smaller jean size than me. And I'm 17. But after I saw how badly her anorexia affected her health, as she lay in a hospital bed, barely able to maintain the energy to talk to her kids, I knew this was more than looking good. This was a disease that nearly took my mom from me.
Hi, I'm Gail, and this is my daughter Bella. And yes, she was talking about me. You see, I suffer from a disease and a disorder that's not really talked about in our society. Matter of fact, more than anything, is probably ignored. And that is an eating disorder called anorexia nervosa. Not many people really understand what anorexia is or what the true definition of anorexia is. So today I want to talk to you about that. And then I'm going to challenge you to do something about it. First, let's discuss what is anorexia and what is anorexia nervosa. And the reason I just want to emphasize the difference of the two is I think it's best to understand it, but also see how it relates. Anorexia is considered to be the loss of appetite, and it's usually caused from the result of a disease. So cancer, chemotherapy, things like that, the flu, that can cause anorexia. Anorexia nervosa, however, is a psychological disorder. It usually occurs in young women because they have a fear of becoming obese. They have a distorted self-image, a persistent unwillingness to eat, and they usually have severe weight loss. Often it's accompanied by self-induced vomiting, excessive exercise, amenorrhea, and if you don't know what that is, that's usually it's in females, and that's the absence of a period because of it. And there's other physiological changes as well. So let me, before we go on, tell you a little bit about my story. I was in 9th grade, and I was soaking in a bathtub when my mother walked in. She looked at me and she said, "Are you pregnant? You sure are getting fat." Well, it's not the most encouraging thing a mother can say, right? What you don't know is that I was probably 5'3" and 100 pounds at the time. I was one of those that I could eat whatever I wanted and I remained thin. And I ate. Well, let me tell you, and I was a sweet tooth too. I love my sweets. But that stuck with me and it registered with me. I also was a victim of sexual abuse in my childhood as well. So I was always taught that my body is what made everyone else happy. So, knowing that, I carried my mother's words with me for the rest of my life. October of last year, I was admitted into the hospital because my lung collapsed unexpectedly. I was so malnourished and so dehydrated that I crashed twice on the operating table when they went in to operate on my lung. I ended up losing part of my lung. Why, do you say? Well, I have what's called blebs on my lung. And it's been known that the reason to get these are because you're too thin. Usually, basketball players who are really tall and have a very thin frame are prone to getting this. Most people, though, are malnourished. So you take in my thin frame, my malnourishment. You take in the fact that I was smoking. I lived off caffeine because I did not want to gain weight. You see, I was a 00, and I weighed 100 pounds when I went to the hospital. But see, I weighed 89 pounds a month before. I didn't allow scales in my house, and I thought I had beat anorexia. And actually, it had beaten me. I stayed in the hospital 10 days in ICU. I'll never forget, my daughter says that when she came in and saw me after surgery, she said I looked dead. She honestly thought that I had died. And to be honest with you, I probably had. But the old part of me had died. But I left that hospital with 20 more extra pounds than I had when I started. And when you're anorexic, it's not a really good thing. And I know some of you, because this is what society does, girl, you need to hush. I wish I was that thin. You need to hush. You need to put some weight on your bones, right? That's what we say, right? The thing is, what you see and what I see are two different things. What I see is this. I see a 500-pound woman who's completely unhealthy, whose husband might leave her for the person down the road. Now, my husband's a good man. He loves me. But that's what I fear. So what can we do? What are some causes of anorexia? Well, I told you my causes, and that was because of my mother, and I went through some physical and sexual abuse. But the true cause for anorexia is not known, but it's believed that it's a combination of biological, psychological, and environmental factors. Some of those biological factors are serotonin. Serotonin is known to be a chemical involved in depression, and they think that might play a role. Psychological is some of them may have excessive compulsive disorder. Bella, can you bring that in just a little bit? Thank you. They may have traits that show obsessive. They got to be perfect. Everything has to be perfect. Physical or sexual abuse or both. Environmental. Our society preys on our young women. They do. There's Victoria's Secret ads everywhere. Kate Upton ads everywhere. You go in the local grocery store and there's your favorite, most popular magazine. The most beautiful bodies of 2013. The worst bodies of 2013. Who looks good in a bathing suit? Who doesn't? We hear stories of a model, 89 pounds, being told she's too fat for the runway. Our society plays into this and plays a major role in anorexia becoming increasing in our nation. Anorexia can cause death. It can cause anemia, heart problems, bone loss. It can cause you, if you're a woman, for you to lose your period. You'll think you're pregnant all the time. I did. My tubes are tight. Okay? Gastrointestinal problems, electrolyte abnormalities, as we discussed when I was in the hospital, and kidney problems. And yes, I have those too. What can you do? You're sitting there going, okay, you know what, Gal? How do I know? How do I know if my loved one has anorexia or may be suffering from anorexia? How do I know? Well, let me tell you how you know. Extreme weight loss. They're losing weight rapidly. Why? Thin appearance. They look so frail. You can see their bones. And yes, you can literally see their bones. Abnormal blood counts. If you're a nurse, you need to pay attention. If you're a doctor, you need to pay attention to this. It doesn't always mean this, or this. We got to stop thinking inside the box and we got to step outside. Fatigue, insomnia, dizziness, fainting spells, hair that falls out. Doesn't mean we're always getting old. Constipation, because our body just can't handle the nutrients. Irregular heartbeat, I deal with that. And anxiety. Since I had surgery, I now suffer from anxiety because I don't know how to handle, and my body doesn't know how to handle the weight that I've had. So what can we do? You say, okay, Gail, I would think my daughter might be doing this. I don't know if she's throwing up. Well, let me tell you, she may not be forcing herself to throw up. I never did. But my stomach was so small that anything I ate, it came back up immediately. So what can I do? You need to talk to your medical provider. If she's a minor child, you need to talk to the doctor before you make an appointment. You need to let them know. You cannot be afraid to hurt their feelings. We are not our kids' friends. It's very important that we understand that. You need to approach them gently. You need to help them find the resources, and you need to make sure they follow through with it because it is scary. And if we're alone, we're not going to do it. I cannot go through this alone. If it wasn't for the love of my family, I would probably be back to smoking cigarettes, working out constantly, and not eating enough too. And we need to talk to our pastors. We need to find someone in the church, and we need to pray, and we need to be reminded of what God tells us. Now here's the problem. Insurance only covers so many visits with a counselor. I think 15 visits maybe. That's not enough. They think this is a self-induced disease. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I've got news for you. This should be covered just like cancer is. I encourage you and I am persuading you today. I am pleading with you. Write your Senate. Write your congressman. Tell them to make the insurance companies aware and make them start doing this. This is what we pay them for, people. That's why we elect them to office. Doctors, quit thinking it's this or this. Become aware. Listen to your patients, even if they don't voice it here. And last but not least, we see commercials all the time. the Lysol commercial promoting Let's Go Green. I'm married to the military. I work on the military post, and they're all about Let's Go Green. So how about this? Why don't we use an average person to sell our products? Why don't we quit using these really thin females who have to starve themselves to death to make the runway? I encourage you, I challenge you today. Will you make a difference? Will you speak out? Will you save your daughter's life? The choice is yours. It's up to you. God bless.